My name is Christine, and I'm a 30-year-old part-time housewife. My husband Vin and I have been married for 6 months, and I think we have a very nice relationship as a couple. However, no one is perfect, and there's something about my husband that bothers me enough that I feel like I need to talk to someone about it. That is that he does not get along with my parent-in-laws, which are indeed his own parents. I know it's common for people to not get along with some members of their family, and if Vin's case wasn't different, I don't think it would pose me a big problem. All I'd have to do is to help them get along enough every once in a while, or something like that. But, unfortunately, his case is different indeed, all because of the way he hates them. It's very unusual, and quite frankly concerning. When we were still dating, before we got married, we sometimes talked about our home environments. Vin told me,
I only have a younger brother. My parents passed away early, actually.
It was a tragic thing to know, but the more details I asked out of him, the more I realized how much stranger the situation really was for him. Basically, he never got along well with parents at all, and we considered them dead to him, which is why he claims his own family is his younger brother. I couldn't understand why he hated his parents so much. I'd wanted to say hi to his parents ever since we started dating, but he always refused, very adamantly. He just said he didn't want to get involved, and never elaborated further. And when we got engaged to be married, I was merely introduced at the entrance of my parent-in-law's house, and after that, I can't say there were more than 5 minutes of conversation before Vin grabbed my arm and dragged me out of the house to the car. When my parent-in-laws saw me, they had very soft expressions on their faces, and I thought they must be very nice people. A few weeks later, my husband's brother, Logan, came to visit us with his wife, Chandelisa. Vin and Logan weren't on terms as bad as Vin and his parents, but because they had not yet had the memo that we got married, so they were very considerate and took the trouble to pay us a visit.
Good afternoon. I'm sorry to bother you at such an hour.
Unlike my husband, Logan had a polite manner and used very clean language, but his wife was perhaps more like a street-smart gal because, "Don't mind if I do, y'all. Scorcher day, isn't it?" Such was her attitude. In a nutshell, and considering this from an optimistic perspective, she's good at shortening the cold distance between strangers. From a pessimistic perspective, however, she was frankly insane in my eyes. The wife of my brother-in-law, who had this powerful, unique husky voice, I could literally feel my water molecules in my body vibrate because of her voice. After we talked about to some extent, perhaps Vin and Chandelisa hit it off, because they switched on the hockey to some ice hockey, and were getting more and more excited every minute. Scattered on the table was a trash heap of sweet wrappers, potato chip bags, and empty glasses that once contained Mountain Dew. Logan kindly helped me clean up the mess. This was a great opportunity to ask him about the relationship between Vin and his parents. I took the chance and asked Logan in a quiet voice. According to him, my husband had always been rebellious against his parents, and he often got himself in trouble with them for a long time. Before I married him, he'd apparently borrowed money from a consumer loan company multiple times, until he'd borrow so much more than what he could pay back to himself. That he borrowed more money than he could pay back by himself. When he tried to borrow money from his parents, they refused to help him, and instead told him to take care of it himself. His attitude towards his parents is basically him holding a grudge. Logan mentioned that Vin said he had repaid the money, but even his own brother felt a little unsure about it. Why did Vin borrow so much money?
You know my brother is pretty enthusiastic about cars, right? From what I heard from him, he spent a lot of this money on cars.
Oh, so that's what this is about. He's still just downright furious Mr. and Mrs. Windsor refused to help him pay back the money he borrowed.
Yes, that's right.
I was a little relieved by then. I was relieved because I now knew that Vin was the problem, and not his parents who were so kind to me. I actually wanted to have a wedding, but Vin was against the idea because he didn't want to invite Mr. and Mrs. Windsor. Ever since then, I've been wondering why he was so unfair to his own parents, and what made him believe they would ruin our wedding. Believe me, when I tell you I never wanted to ask you personally, it's just that he never offered an answer that was satisfactory.
Ah, so that's why you asked me. Well, that makes sense, I guess.
Yep, that's the whole story. I don't want a wedding now, but I do hope he'll get along with his parents. They've been so good to me, and it pains me to see my own husband be on such bad terms with them.
You know, to be honest, I don't think that'll ever be possible. But I'll let them know how you feel about their situation and hopefully convince them to try harder. I promise.
Are you sure? Thank you so much. Then, the four of us went on chatting the rest of the afternoon. Right after they left in the evening, my husband came to me with an angry look on his face.
Did you do something to my brother?
I only told him that I wished you would be on better terms with your parents.
I thought I told you to never do anything rash. Just before he went on his merry way, Logan pulled me aside and told me to think about you too. If you hadn't said anything to him, things wouldn't be so damn complicated right now. You're making things difficult again, and it's honestly pissing me off.
That's not true. Logan told me that all of the tension between you and your parents is basically of your grudge against them. Don't tell me I'm wrong. Logan confirmed it. When I said those words, my husband's expression changed. Earlier, he donned an expression that seemed to suggest something was a pain in the ass to him, but that face turned into one of complete fury.
Logan knows nothing, and I don't know what you think you know, but you don't meddle in my family situation, alright? Stay out of it.
That's all he ever said before he disappeared into the house. Why in the world do you hate your own parents so much, Vin? Why is it that the cause of this whole situation is you and only you, and yet you still act so self-centered? I couldn't understand then, and I was positive that even if an expert tried to explain, I would never understand. After that day, unfortunately, conversations with my husband became so scarce that it became a limit to something related to keep life going. Such as when he was coming home from work, or that he wanted a beer from the fridge. Of course, the word wedding was never mentioned, and to make matters worse, his behavior has gotten so much stranger lately. Perhaps his work kept him pretty busy, because he wasn't at home as much as he used to be, and even on his days off, he was never home. When I ask him where he goes, he doesn't answer. I had absolutely no idea where he goes off to, and it's like he's deliberately making so that he doesn't have to spend time with me. I know it sounds pretty drastic, but I began to suspect my husband was cheating on me. But, hear me out, I have a good reason. There were just too many secrets. I didn't feel like I had a choice but to suspect him of foul play. When he came home one day, I decided to ask him, "You've been working a lot of extra hours lately, and I know you don't work on your days off, so where do you go?"
Why do you care? I go wherever I feel like going. At least I come home at the end of the day, right?
That's not good enough, honey. We're married, and I feel like there's a lot of secrets between us. It feels wrong. Just because you come home every day doesn't mean everything's okay.
So, what? You're having doubts about me?
You can't blame me. I never have any idea what you're doing, and you never answer me when I ask you.
Washing cars.
What?
I wash my cars whenever I can spare enough time, and once they're clean and beautiful, I go for a drive afterwards.
Was what he told me. Well, my husband does love cars, and knowing this, anyone could understand if he says that's why he's always elsewhere during the day. Then I want to go with you next time. I have to wash my car because it's getting dirty in any case.
You can put your car through an automatic car wash, no? Because those machines aren't too catered to washing the cars I have. I have to wash each one by hand.
Then why don't you wash my car too? I can help you.
I'm not gonna do that.
I don't know why, but he refused my offer of going with him. I was frustrated, but I couldn't press the issue any farther. I couldn't accuse him he was doing something else, nor could I accuse him of having an affair. Since I didn't have any evidence that supported the possibility of Vin having an affair. Plus, a normal housewife with a normal husband would still pursue. because it was an excuse too far-fetched to believe. But when it comes to Vin, he loves cars so much that telling me he washes them by hand as often as he can and takes them out for drives afterwards sounds like a very solid truth. To be honest, he even went to borrow money to tinker with cars after all. On his next day off, I woke up and found no sign of him. I assumed he must have gone to where he kept his cars, eager to give the next one a scrub and a shine. I got out of bed, ate breakfast, watched a bit of TV, and started cleaning the house. That's when I got a call from my brother-in-law. I thought it was unusual for him to call me, but he did mention he wanted to deliver a souvenir from a little trip he took with his colleagues from work.
Hello, Christine. Is Vin there? Is he around?
Vin? He's out right now and he's not at home. For some reason, he asked me if my husband was home. I thought it was because it would be awkward if my husband wasn't home. But then...
Good. I'll be there in about 10 minutes. Will that be alright?
I didn't know why he asked me that question about Vin in the first place. 10 minutes and a few passed, and I heard the doorbell intercom ring. When I answered, it was Logan. I let him inside, and after he made himself comfortable, he reached into his backpack and brought out what appeared a small lamp in the shape of a pineapple. He really had brought us a gift back from his trip. Oh, this is so nice. Thanks for the souvenir. Where did you go on your trip?
Hawaii.
Oh, wow. How cute. A trip to Hawaii at this age. I haven't been there since my graduation trip after college. I was making small talk, but as we were talking, I noticed something strange about him. He was talking normally before, but he suddenly started to cower, it seemed, and he was slow to respond. When I called out to him, his response was incomprehensible. He slurred his words beyond recognition, so I quickly called an ambulance. I accompanied him in the ambulance, and we headed to the hospital. After being taken to the hospital, Logan was examined. The doctor informed me that he was just suffering from a strong case of jet lag and that the trip had fatigued him quite a bit. I was relieved about two things. One, that he didn't suddenly become exhausted while he was at the wheel, and two, that the cause wasn't a serious illness. The drive to my place probably caused his condition to deteriorate further. Moreover, Logan himself said,
I knew I was under the influence of jet lag, but I still went back to work the day after I returned. I guess that was why the fatigue accumulated a lot more, and why I'm in this mess right now. I should have rested for a few days before going back to work.
Needless to say, travel tires you out, for real, and a few days of rest and relaxation before going back to work or school was always the best thing to do. I felt relieved and reassured that everything was going to be fine, but then I realized I had forgotten something important. I had forgotten to call my husband and inform him his brother was in the hospital. I realized how one can't afford to think of other things at all when someone collapses in front of you. I whip out my phone. I dial my husband's number. Once, twice, 3 times. He didn't pick up the phone at all, even after 4 attempts. Finally, on the 5th attempt, I got through to him.
What the hell do you want?
Where are you now?
You called me 5 freaking times just to ask me something stupid like that?
No, I didn't.
What the frick? Just tell me what this is all about.
Answer my question first. Where are you right now?
Alright, fine. You win. To tell you the truth, I'm at a cafe talking to Logan. I had something I want to discuss with him, okay? That should be enough of an explanation. Now don't call me again, please. I'll be home for dinner tonight. Hanging up now.
Shocked by my husband's lie, I kept the phone to my ear long after he hung up. Never before in my whole life was I so stunned. There was something else that was bothering me. I heard a woman's voice in the background. That voice probably belonged to Chandlisa, the wife of my brother-in-law. Her voice was very unique, and even through some amount of blurred ambiguity, that accented husky voice made me sure that Vin was having an affair with Chandlisa. I glanced at Logan and discovered him smiling bitterly.
Perhaps you finally noticed what's going on here. If you think you're sure Vin was with my wife, you're not alone, Christine.
I guess you can imagine how surprised I was when he said those words. Wait, did you know already?
Yes, I did. You remember we visited your house not too long ago, right? Well, I noticed they seemed to hit it off then, and I'm pretty positive that's where their relationship started.
I found the fact that Logan was talking so calmly astonishing. How can you be so calm? Aren't you devastated that the woman you love is being unfaithful to you?
I've known about the affair since the beginning anyway.
My brother-in-law elaborated, telling me that while he and I were talking about Vin and his situation with my parents that day, they had exchanged contact information as they were enjoying the hockey game, and they'd been having an affair ever since. Logan was suspicious when he noticed his wife was not coming home until late at night. One look at her cell phone confirmed everything, because he found a photo with his brother. He then immediately hired a detective agency to look into the matter, and it didn't take long before enough evidence was accumulated to confirm his suspicions. You're not getting a divorce?
I was planning on divorcing her when the time was right. I was actually going to tell you, Christine, but quite frankly, it's been hard to tell you. I'm one of those people who hates to go behind someone's back and expose them for something, even if the crime's pretty huge like this.
I understand, but I still think you should have told me anyway. I felt ashamed that I didn't realize it earlier, and I was shocked by the fact that my husband really was cheating on me. Perhaps Logan also wanted to spare me from experiencing this rush of negativity. I felt bad saying that he should have told me anyway.
What about you, Christine? Are you thinking about getting a divorce?
Yes, I am. I can't be together with an unfaithful bastard.
I already have plenty of evidence against their case, so you need not worry about any legal procedures. Let's proceed with the claims for alimony and make them pay well for what they did to us.
Logan then displayed a mischievous smile. He also rubbed his hands ominously, but I didn't know if it was intended to be funny.
To tell you the truth, my wife still thinks I'm on vacation, traveling to Hawaii.
Wait, what? What do you mean?
I knew she was going to see Vin while I was gone, so I lied to her. I lied to prepare for the divorce and get revenge.
That's amazing. You've been planning this for a long time.
And you only found out about it today, Christine. I'm not surprised you're not prepared at all.
Thanks for supporting me, Logan. I really appreciate it, especially during these dark times. But now that you mention it, it makes sense.
What does?
My husband said he's leaving tomorrow for a business trip overnight. Yes, that's right. It just so happens that he's going on a business trip, even though he basically never goes on any at all. My best guess at that point was that he was going on a trip with his new girlfriend. And it seemed my brother-in-law was thinking exactly the same thing. I couldn't forgive them both for thinking so low of me, thinking that I would never find out about their affair. Then came the doctor, who told us that Logan could go back home to rest after the IV was finished. We made our way back home by taxi, hopped into his car, and made our way to my parent-in-law's house. They were surprised to see me stopping by with Logan of all people, but the surprise quickly turned into joy, and they kindly let us inside. As we helped ourselves to some coffee and donuts, we explained that we discovered the cheating. Needless to say, they were astonished, repeating that they just could not believe it. So Logan then showed them the evidence that the detective agency had prepared. 10 seconds later, they were bowing their heads down to me in deep, heart-wrenchingly sincere apologies. Mrs. Windsor was crying. I quickly and kindly assured them they were not to blame. It was my husband's fault, and Chandelisa's.
Mom, Dad, please don't apologize. You really did nothing wrong at all. It's all Vin and that backstabbing wife of mine.
Yes, indeed, Mr. Windsor, Mrs. Windsor. Please raise your heads.
I'm thinking about getting a divorce, and so is Christine. I suppose you two also think this is the best thing to do with the truth in mind. But I have a favor to ask you.
What Logan asked his parents was that in the event Vin comes to them for help, that they don't offer any help at all. He asked them not to give any support for alimony or anything else. I agreed with his request, considering the weight of their crime. Vin and Chandelisa alone should be responsible and pay accordingly. I also requested my parent-in-laws what Logan asked, and they agreed. I then contacted my husband, while my brother-in-law contacted his wife. Neither of them answered the calls the first time, so we called again and again. When Vin finally answered, he did not seem happy.
What the hell is wrong with you? What the frick do you want this time?
Hey, where are you?
Oh my freaking god, you're so annoying. Why do you keep asking me where I am? Why do you freaking care so much?
Because I want to talk to you about something. It's important.
I'm at a shopping mall with Logan right now. We're actually thinking about seeing a movie. Are you freaking happy now?
If you really were with your brother, I'd be more than happy with that answer of yours. But let's be honest, you're not with your brother, are you? No, I'm pretty sure you're with his wife. And I'm also pretty sure you aren't even shopping. You're in a hotel bathroom right now talking to your wife on the phone while another woman lies in bed just waiting for you to take places with her tonight. Good thing I was alone when I said that. That would have hurt Logan for sure. Perhaps I'd hit the nail on the head because there was a long, awkward silence before Vin answered with a voice that sounded like a donkey.
What are you talking about? Of course I'm not with Chandeliza.
It was obvious that he was upset. I could tell from his heavy breathing. And also, over the phone, I could hear the characteristic voice just beckoning him to come back into the room. I can hear her voice in the background, you know.
You hear that kind of voice everywhere. It doesn't mean I'm in a hotel room right now.
No, you don't hear that kind of voice anywhere around here, to be honest. But anyway, I see you're trying to convince me otherwise, but it's too late. I know everything. I already know what you're doing, and you can't change my mind. Divorce me, please.
Divorce? Now hold on a second, that's pretty dramatic all of a sudden.
I have no idea why I would be dramatic, honestly. No matter how hard I try to tell him I really want a divorce, he doesn't understand. Whether he truly doesn't, or rather doesn't want to, is up for speculation.
I only had a little fling with my brother's wife. It doesn't mean it's serious. It's only just me letting my inner man run a little free, you know?
If you don't think it's serious, then why are you still with her right now? I can't understand. And why would you go to the trouble of having a relationship with your brother's wife of all people?
Because she thinks I'm cool and handsome. That's why.
You're so disgusting. I don't even want to call you anymore. Before I hang up on you for the last time, I'll tell you 2 things. First, I've already hired a lawyer to help me with the legal procedures to charge you the alimony you damn well owe me. And second, you be sure to tell that wife of your brother's, butt naked in the nearest room, I'm done. Don't contact me again. I hung up the phone without hearing his answer. Logan also successfully talked to his wife and settled a divorce before hanging up the phone. All the while, my parent-in-laws were on the phone, talking to a well-respected lawyer's firm, explaining the situation to them, and asking for their services. They were happy to help us out with handling the divorce, and as for the alimony itself, we personally told them what we were hoping to get. They assured us that everything was going to be done accordingly. After that, Vin felt isolated in his job when he talked about how he divorced his wife by having an affair with the wife of his own brother. Some of them were pretty upset about the whole situation, and went so far as to send me letters of empathy and condolences. From my ex-husband's perspective, it was beyond strange for some woman to divorce him over something as small as having a little fun with his brother's wife. But, considering the situation from an objective perspective, common sense alone should tell you that it's wrong to cheat on your wife. Not only did he break that unspoken rule, but if even went so far as to drag your own brother's wife down with you into a pit of nightmarish misery. Perhaps people around him actively started to avoid him, and perhaps it became harder for Vin to stay at his job because he was fired from his job after repeatedly going AWOL. Logan's wife, who was a full-time housewife, had to work to pay the alimony charged against her, but because she had never worked before, she was never good at her job. She couldn't stand being scolded and criticized at her newest job anymore, and she quit. She then struggled to find regular, stable job thereafter, and instead took the easier, more riddled with dark consequence course of action by borrowing money from a bank to pay the alimony, placing herself in a large amount of debt. Nowadays, she's somehow managing to keep a budget by working as a part-time laborer. It also seemed like my ex-husband and his girlfriend got married later on. But they both had lots of debt to pay off. They got increasingly frustrated and things didn't work out. They divorced after 6 months. All they had left was a whole lot of debt and a whole lot of loneliness. Now, both are struggling to make ends meet with loads of work, day and night. As for me, I thought the divorce would make me depressed for a while, but surprisingly, it didn't. My coworkers worried about me because I was so calm about it, and some have said that they genuinely thought I'd lost my sanity. My relationship with Mr. and Mrs. Windsor and Logan remained on great terms, and to this day, I occasionally have dinner with them. Sometimes I dine with Logan privately. We joke to each other, saying that if we found someone nice, that we'll introduce them to each other. But I really don't think either one of us is ready for something like that just yet. And before you get ahead of yourself, no, I don't think Logan and I will ever become a thing. But who knows? Maybe life will prove me wrong, or maybe it won't. In any case, as of now, I'm concentrating on my work, hoping to get a promotion soon, and I'm going to do the best I can to live a life I believe I deserve.